Oh man, here we go. Let's go ahead and get started. Oh, there we go. All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial. Let's see, volume. Okay, volume is good. I think I need to turn it up just a little bit more. Sorry about that. I was on a roll. Let's see. Try one more time. Testing. Okay, great. What's going on, everybody? This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom. This is another episode of Trade with Travis. This is a Sunday episode for the people that are watching through all of the different platforms that I have. Obviously, Trading View, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Pretty much everything is Trade with Travis if you want to be able to take a look at some of the stuff that we end up doing. But super excited to be able to talk to each and every one of y'all today. What we're going to end up doing is actually going through, take a look at the chart, seeing if there's any type of activity that we possibly could be looking at when the market actually opens and throughout the week until we end up talking again on Wednesday. And then remember, after this week, so the last week where we won't go live in the mornings will end up being after the 10th, which is this upcoming Friday. And then after that would be on at 9 a.m. each and every time as well. So super excited. Let's go ahead and get started. We're not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that forex trading involves risk, and involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money, so please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So we're going to end up taking a look at what I would like to be able to take a look at is training markets only. And typically ones that once they end up having a direction, what we can be able to do is find a counter trend line break or a area to be able to get in. We look at that through R2 and R3 rankings. We will go through that today. But before we do that, we have to find time frame alignment. That means that the weekly and the daily have to be trading in the same direction. Once we have that, then we'll take a look and see if the overbought and oversold stochastic for the daily is matching up with that time frame alignment. If it is, then we can be able to move on to the next step, which is being able to find a catalyst for that movement, which equals basically a counter trend line break and any type of economic news that could help support it. And then after that, once we decide to be able to take the trade, look at equity management when it comes down to risk versus reward. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's see. So there's really nothing on Sunday, Monday. I'm just going to jump right into Tuesday. Tuesday, the Australian dollar is going to end up having an interest rate decision that's going to end up coming out. And then after that, the Japanese yen or Japan is going to end up having their GDP come out as well. So remember, last Friday, we ended up having our non-farm payroll. So this is typically an off week. This is typically always somewhat of a trader's week. You can see a little bit more stuff that's actually showing up at the latter portion of the week, but there's no fundamental state that I end up seeing. So everything's going to end up being based off of what you do for trading. So with that being said, we're going to end up jumping into the big three real quick and take a look at those. And then after that, that can kind of give us an answer about what's going on with the market in general. Um, we can see that this market has completed the D extension at 12,661. Remember, it broke an inner trend line break right here. And once it broke that inner trend line break, it started gravitating toward the outer trend line. Now, it tapped the outer trend line almost perfectly from this actual position. Then after that, started to make a push to the upside. Now, remember, when there's a breakout, typically this will end up being a retest area. And if it bounces and it keeps on going, then the market's going to remain to be bullish. But if it breaks through this outer trend line, then there's a big chance that the market could break bears. So if I'm taking a look at it, the United States dollar is still to me weak, and I think that we should look at being able to sell off on it. Now, when we take a look at the daily, remember we talked about we wanted to see this market kind of fall, but in the midst of being able to do that, it has to pop up just a little bit more for the next 7 to about 10 days, and then after that, you can be able to get into a trade. So we're still in that same game plan. Now we're just seeing it kind of play out just a little bit. I do expect that the market will probably end up trying to push up to the 12,750 to 770 area. And if we can be able to catch that with the market kind of falling down in the sell zone, then I think that we have a very good opportunity of being able to make a good trade off of that. You're paying attention to it. That's really more like that's a bearish crown that I'm looking at. If you're not familiar with what a bearish crown actually looks like, what I'm going to do is draw it this way. You have an A to B movement that end up happening. Then after that, C to D. Once you end up having that movement, this is your A, or this will be your new A. That'll end up being your new B. If the A is broken, then that means that it starts to make a crown. Then after that, This will be your left tip. That's your center tip. Your right tip is typically formed right where your B was previously. And then from there, this is to me, arguably, this is probably better than doing head and shoulders patterns because um, instead of waiting until the neckline is actually broken, what you can be able to do is just wait for the counter trend line break to be able to happen within these last ones because between this right side because essentially what you end up getting is an early indication that the market is truly going to end up breaking, and you end up getting it from this position right here when the market actually broke already. All right, so with that being said, I'm trying to wait and see if that's going to end up playing out. If it does, then that'll be a great area to be able to sell. Until then, I think that the market will be short-term bullish. So that means that if you're looking at trying to make any type of trade off of that, I would scalp it. Type of wire, yes, if that makes sense when it comes down to the United States dollar index in general. And then obviously we got U.S. based pairs. So let's talk about U.S. based pairs. I think that overall you're probably going to end up seeing the market be a little bit bullish on the dollar at least for a little bit. I think that it will probably end up losing steam in the next few days. And then once that happens, then I think that we'll see the market kind of tail off. So because it is a trader's day, you're probably, remember we talked about or what we end up seeing for the economic calendar. End up seeing that Thursday and Friday were one of the days where we end up having the more the information that we're going to end up seeing. So it wouldn't surprise me if it happens then. All right, so there we go. Not going to do anything with that yet, but I am looking to be able to sell. Take a look at oil. We talked about this last week, and for some people, hopefully you listened. Boy, I've been spot on when it comes down to oil. Oh, buddy, I remember back when I caught it at $67 a barrel. Oh man. Okay, so you take a look at oil market has broken the counter trend line break, starting to push up. This is in a R2 zone. Okay, from there, as market is trying to get to that broken V, you see that the market is starting to keep on pushing up. Obviously, we got a great, very good U-turn. With moderate when it comes down to being overbought or oversold when it comes down to that bullish movement. So clearly, the market is bullish on that movement. What we looked at last week was, can we get two different things to be able to happen? One, if you wanted to trade it out of the triangle, we had the counter trend line break to be able to get in. For the people that did that, you end up getting in great. That's a very good move up to the top of it. The second portion was when the market ended up breaking out of this consolidation zone. Remember, we said that when the market breaks out of consolidation resistance, it's going to end up retesting. That's exactly what ended up happening right here. Also end up saying as soon as it ends up breaking ahead of this movement, then go ahead and be able to get in unless you're waiting in a retesting phase and then let it go. So we know that the market is bullish on both ends. We know that we want to be able to trade it. What I'll end up looking at if you're somebody that has not gotten in is this. The 2 hour is not oversold yet, but it will end up getting oversold at some point in time. What I would look for is kind of seeing that this market will end up making a little bit of a U-turn, and then after that, starting to trace a little bit. Now, if it does retrace a little bit, where's it going to go, and can we be able to get in off of that? I'll look at this previous resistance area right over here to be able to see if you can be able to get in if this market starts to keep on pushing back, or if this market does retrace back. Another way that you can be able to do that is that take a look at the 15 minute and then see if the 15 minutes in the buy zone and do the same type of counter trend line break to be able to get up to the upside. I am in oil. I got in oil the first time we talked about it based off of that triangle that we was talking about. Currently, right now, I'm just waiting on another position, and this may end up being that one. So we'll see how everything kind of goes with that. Go to the next. Go to the next one. Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and take a look at gold. So last week, I ended up saying that gold was my most confident trade that I felt like it was going to end up pushing up to the upside, giving you a chance to be able to make a profit, and then after that, getting out for the overall move. We end up talking about how you can be able to trade it from a long-term perspective or trade it from a 2 hour perspective, and each and every one of those were fine based off of how you end up looking at it. But the thing was, when you took that trade, you were going to end up having a 95% chance of being able to make profit off it. If you don't believe me, take a look at last week's Trade with Travis session, and you will end up hearing me say that. I also still have the obviously the FMA sheet that we end up talking about, but this is what's happening. Same deal. This market is in an R2 position. Broke the counter trend line break to the upside. The weekly is still in the buy zone, so that means that we have a very good trade to be able to look at for us being able to buy or in the right potential moments. If we take a look at that, what ended up happening was that the market ended up making that movement to the upside right here. Once it broke that counter trend line break, got into the sell zone. Remember, anytime that the market goes into the sell zone, it probably just a little bit of a retracement, 7 to 11 days. This market fell down to here, broke the counter trend line break again. So this is where we're at now. Remember, when a counter trend line break is broken, or when you end up having a breakout, typically you end up seeing a retest. Essentially, what we're looking at right now is the retest phase of this counter trend line break. So we are clearly in the buy zone. So going into market, you probably might want to start taking a look and see, especially if this market doesn't gap up. Trying to see if you can see this market actually end up tapping across this area right here first. Um, if it does, then that's a great position to be able to get in. If it doesn't, then and it starts to already move, then might as well go ahead and start making that movement because you gotta basically you have a head and shoulders pattern once again, or just a very good push up to the upside. So actually no, this is a bullish crown because it ended up breaking the A over here. But I would be very much interested in being able to make a move on this one again and staying in the actual trades. My long term trade is actually down though. The automation systems that I end up getting into actually end up taking the sale. Oh, I might be able to show that. Can I be able to show that? Let's see. It's actually doing some back testing before we end up going past this. So yeah, so when we take a look at this, actually I am up on sales. The market entry that we ended up getting into after this buy which was one of the entries that I ended up having. Basically, it's at break even, but the market ended up pushing up to 1879, something like that, 1873, and the market ended up popping up from there. What's going on, Casey? I hope everything's going well with you. I know you definitely have something that you want me to be able to take a look at. So go ahead and post it up. Make sure I end up taking a look at it. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at when it comes down to gold. Gold, I do look at. I am trying to get in for the actual buy again. Wait for the counter trend line break to be able to push up. Take profit locations. Go ahead and talk about that real quick. 2 hour take profit is 1887. That was trade one. You go to the daily for trade two. The take profit that was at the B at 2070, and then after that, take profit three was at 2164 for those overall movement. So once again, I am super excited about what I'm seeing with gold. I do expect that the market's going to keep on pushing up bullish. Look for the opportunities that you can be able to get into, and I think this is one of those ones that you can be able to ride out for a long time. All right, so there we go. With that being said, took a look at the big three, took a look at everything else like that. Let's go take a look and see what's happening with Bitcoin real quick. And if you have any questions or if you want me to take a look at a actual chart, it doesn't matter about if it's forex, stocks, bonds, metals, anything else like that. You want me to take a look at it? If I can be able to see it on TradingView, then absolutely I'll be able to help you out with it. Let's see. So Bitcoin, talked about another bearish crown. There we go. Um, just talked about that. So remember, I end up saying that when I was looking at this market, I looked at the weekly, and we end up saying that this market had this large consolidation area. It broke below the consolidation area, and then remember, once there's a breakout, then typically there'll be a retest. So if there was a breakout, here's your retest that's happening literally right now as we speak. Um, Even though the stochastic is in the buy zone, I don't believe that has any bearing on what the move may actually end up being if we're looking at it from a technical standpoint. If there's still not a reason for people to get excited to be able to buy Bitcoin at this particular point, then I think that this market's going to end up falling. And I think it's going to end up completing the extension. And then after that, Lord knows where it's going to end up going. But 24,799. Excuse me. So 24,800 is a position where it's expected to be able to fall. And that does not surprise me, especially if this market remains to be in this consolidation type of look, that it could fall. Remember, it's the summer months. Remember, typically in the summer months, the market actually ends up slowing down. Remember, typically after May, the market really slows down when it comes down to Bitcoin. Um, Now it's more like box consolidation, even though it's small. The market's in the middle of a small consolidation area, with the average of it being at 30,000. This market continues to be able to um, stay in this position for a while. You know that people are going to end up having a big breakout in some direction. The thing that's going to make this thing move is going to end up being a catalyst. Who's going to end up saying something about it to be able to make it move to the upside or to the downside? Because it is a trader's week, basically. Um, we'll see what the technicals say. We'll see what the market makers and everybody else to the back and just actually ends up saying when it comes down to this movement. But currently, right now, I believe that the market is bearish. I wish I would have caught it right here at this point when it pushed up to the high 32,503. But I would try to see if I can be able to catch it at resistance if I'm trying to sell it. You're trying to buy it, obviously you want to be able to buy it at support. So make sure the lowest you can be able to go. If you want to be a little bit more patient right now, it probably might be the best thing to be able to do. If you haven't made an entry in a while. Here we go. So Ethereum, last one. Then after that, we'll get into the indices, and then after that, take a look at what Casey has. He's taking a look at US yen. So we looked at gold. We said that I can almost tell you before we even take a look at the chart, Casey. Um, so we looked at the United States dollar index. I said that the United States dollar index is expected to push up before ultimately falling down. And what I ended up saying with gold was I was interested in being able to get in gold right now. So that means that the momentum of the United States dollar is going to end up slowing down. And I think that the momentum of gold is going to end up starting to push up. And typically, when gold moves, the Japanese yen moves, I don't have anything that would be like of certain news that could make the matter of fact, yes, we do. Um, we got GDP news. GDP news on Tuesday um, could make the market for the Japanese yen actually get a little bit stronger, which means that we should see the market actually start to fall instead of popping up. Um, that has put me way off on a tangent. Right now, I'm going to get off of Ethereum. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at US yen real quick. I think that the market would be bearish. It would take a look at all of those informations that we end up taking a look at. And of course, the market exploded. But let's see. Okay, so, geez, that's some old news. Okay, I'm going to clear this chart. All right, so what has happened is this: market on a weekly standpoint has exploded for the last few weeks. Market has went up to $130 when it comes down to this actual movement. Completed the D extension way past 121 and has kept on going. Now, with that being said, obviously everything that I just said about everything that I was looking at has just went out the window. Obviously, it's clearly bullish, and we clearly see a bullish engulfing candlestick right here. So obviously, we need to look at it from a buying standpoint. Um, so what I'm going to do is pull up these weekly fibs and see where the market could potentially go. Um, there goes your A, there goes your B. Market fell down to the 23.6, and that's the reason why Fibonacci is so important. And being able to know them, and then absolutely exploded up to the upside. It's still in a R2 rank when it comes down to this movement and taking a look at it, but it's suspected if it keeps on going like this, based off of the 80-20 rule, you'll probably end up seeing that the market will slow down at 136. Um, Now, if it's stronger after that point, and it's going to keep on moving up, then obviously it get up to 142, and we'll see what happens from there. Now, how fast it's going to end up going, we don't know that. We never know that. We just see that obviously there's some type of movement to the upside. Now, taking a look at the daily, there goes your U-turn. Well, maybe I might hold on. Looking at it now, that may end up being, especially if people start to sell off on it, kind of going back to my original idea. Um, this actually could be a resistance because if you end up taking a look at the taps between both of these, one, two, it goes to third, that may end up happening right there. If it starts to reject hard, then what it will end up doing is basically making a box area of consolidation as well. Uh, see. KC ended up buying at 131 with a stop loss of 41 cent, price target of 131.62. 131.62. Okay, so 2-1 risk reward ratio. Obviously, he ended up buying. We'll take a look at this from a 2 hour perspective. See, you got it at 131.87. Oh, 131.87. Let's make these smaller now. Let's see. 130.87. Um, price target of 131, stop loss 41 cents. So 46. Well, obviously, I know your scalping behavior, so that doesn't surprise me one bit. Um, Casey, it doesn't surprise me one bit when it comes down to that. You placed it just below the actual support that you end up looking at. Okay, cool. So this is what I would say about it. One, you take a look at the 15 minute. The market is basically moving the way that they end up doing when the market opens up at 5. You may end up seeing a gap, so you don't even have to worry about the stop loss, especially if it keeps on pushing up to the upside. Um, which would kind of go back to the theory of what I end up saying that United States dollar index is probably going to end up pushing up and kind of rising up before falling based off of that bearish crown. Um, so the only thing that I would be personally worried about is if this market breaks this trend line or this horizontal line right here and this small little support area that ends up breaking. I'm going to make that be in purple. If the market ends up breaking that area, then I'll be kind of worried about that. If it doesn't, then essentially what you're looking at is just another pennant. You're looking at basically another flag. Um, let's see. Now, if that is that just because the market was closing or whatever may end up being the case, who knows? But um, basically, what you're saying is that. So, market did bounce off of support again, right around that area. So, kind of seeing how this market's going to end up pushing up would be um, you're already in the position. Obviously, you kind of basically you in the middle of the consolidation. So obviously, I know that you're going to end up being patient about it. For people that will be looking at being able to get in, um, especially if it stays inside of this consolidation before the market opens up or after the market opens up, um, I would wait for the breakout or I would wait for obviously the support resistance because it's done tapped so many times. I would just wait for the breakout of whatever position is going to end up being. Wait for the retest and then after that, trade it from there. Um, so in this case, Casey, what you're doing is not wrong. Obviously, I would just say I would just be a little bit patient on it. Yeah, there we go. So, US 30. Let's go and take a look at that. We'll talk about Nas 100 as well, and then after that, we end up getting out of here if there's no questions. US 30 from a weekly standpoint. Sorry for all my drawings. The market ended up completing the D extension at 30,700. Once it ended up breaking the D extension, or I'm sorry, did it? Yeah, completed. No, it didn't complete the extension. Well, yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Okay, I'm sorry. Completed the extension at 30,700. Then after that, kind of popped up. The market right now from a the extensions perspective, or basically what's happening is the market just retracing from this overall move. So we take a look at this from the daily. We should see that the market is starting to be a little bit more probably overbought, kind of like where it is right now. It completed a 2 hour D extension. That was the trade that we ended up talking about last week, where we ended up making $7,000 on that trade overall when it came down to that movement. Um, and since then, the market has basically been in consolidation. So with that being said, what are we seeing? We're seeing the ribbon is bearish. We see that obviously Don chain is bearish. We see that the MACD is actually saying that we have a few more bearish, a few more bullish days off of this overall look. So once again, they're not aligned, so that means that there may end up being a little bit more consolidation to be able to think of. Um, with that also being said, if we take a look at it based off of a 2 hour perspective, kind of see that same type of consolidation, just ever so slightly. Where the support has been right at 32,621, and the resistance being at 33,476. So I still think that this market is going to end up pushing up. We talked about that D extension I ended up completing, which was right here. Finally ended up getting a new move off of that. So here's your new A, B, C, D. I'll go ahead and draw that out right now. A, B. So A, B. Currently, right now, this is the C. The extension off this one is expected to be at 34,790 or 779. So if I'm looking at making any type of trade off of this, what I would end up doing is kind of the same thought process of what we said on Wednesday. Wait for the counter trend line break, and then after that, wait for the market to be able to push up. What we've seen is this market has basically found support right around 38,720. So if that market does fall back into that area, then we possibly could end up seeing a pop up to the upside, and keep on moving bullish based off of that. Now, because I don't keep the stochastic on this chart, let's see what's happening on this weekly. Okay, weekly saying the same thing. Weekly saying that it's bullish. Obviously, we ended up hitting our, we're basically retracing based off of this level after hitting the weekly D extension. So that doesn't surprise me. Taking a look at the daily, daily's in the sell zone. So um, obviously, we can see this market kind of fall down first before picking back up on this one. So no move to be able to make right now. Just wait. We'll see how everything kind of goes, and then after that, play it from there. But the weekly and the daily are not trending in the same direction. Just from a stock cast, well, they are trending in the same direction, but it's not ready to be able to make a move yet. We'll go from there. Nas 100. Nas 100 has been my favorite of this absolute year. I cannot stress enough how Nas 100 has been going for me, especially when it comes down to the automation systems. Every time I'm super excited to always take a look at this chart. This chart has brought in a lot of revenue. Um, so let's take a look and see what's happening on the weekly, and we end up going from there. Okay. From a weekly standpoint, same deal. Market completed, or market did not complete the extension, but was very close. Um, and since then, the market has basically been U-turning. It did not hit a weekly D extension, but it hit a daily D extension. That's the reason why we have this engulfing candlestick that's in green right here. Since then, the market has pushed up to the upside. Same deal, just like what's happening with US 30. And since then, the market is in a position to where the market could continue to move, to the D extension at 13,670. Now, here's the problem. We know that the market is bearish. We know that the long-term market is bearish. So overall, when we're looking at this for it being able to trade it, we want to be looking at it from a seller's mindset, hypothetically, until the market actually ends up proving that it's going to end up being what it's going to end up being. So weekly was in the buy zone, obviously because of the movement. The daily is in the sell zone. Same thing. There's really nothing else to be able to look at. I'm not even gonna take a look at this chart even more because it's pointless at this particular point to be able to take a look at a trade from this standpoint and think there's going to end up being a movement or being some movement. So done with that one. So we went through about went through the big three, went through obviously the major ones that we end up taking a look at all the time, but also we end up taking a look at US yen. Um, we had a game plan on gold. Take a look at that when it comes down to what we ended up talking about before. Still think that the market is still bullish. Just got to see how the market's going to react. Tuesday is going to be a very important day for the Japanese yen. Every other thing right now, currently, I would not take a look at unless you're short-term buying on the dollar until the market kind of makes this a little bit of a pop back. With that being said, if you like what we end up doing, please make sure that you end up clicking on the like button. For the people that end up watching this after the fact, thank you for being able to watch it. I do appreciate it. And we'll see each and every one of y'all on Wednesday as we go ahead and take a look at some actual trading pairs. And remember, going into next week, we'll be live each and every morning at 9 a.m. being able to look at some trading opportunities as well. All right. Like